If possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all, as you wish that others would do to you, do to them. Romans 12:18, Luke 6:31. We made a specific and direct amends to those we have hurt whenever possible, except when to do so. Further, we injure them or others who are innocent. For such person we made specific and indirect amends. So if you are offering your gift at the altar and there remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go and be reconciled to your brother, and then come and offer your gift. Matthew 5:23 to 24. What is the price of peace? Bringing peace to any relationship eventually means I become willing to forgive whoever hurt me based being on my being forgiven by Jesus. I become willing to make things right as far as it depends on me. Sooner or later, making peace involves action. Straight talk on making amends. Making amends is a step beyond forgiveness. God's word for making amends is reconciliation. So if you are offering your gift at the altar and there remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go first be reconciled to your brother and then come and offer your gift. Matthew 5:23, 24. Yeah. According to God, the responsibility lies with me. If I have something against you, I need to forgive. If I have something against me, I need to make things right. God feels stronger about me making things right with others than he does about me worshiping him or bringing him gifts. The moment of truth. The people who have wounded or hurt or offense towards me are. Think of these people. Motivation for making amends. To hear the other person take responsibility. To hear the other person say, I forgive you. To restore a relationship. It is entirely appropriate to hope that this might happen, but having it as a part of my motivation puts pressure on another person to make me feel better and often sets me up for disappointment. See, there are 5 words to successful forgiveness and making amends, and that is, do not expect anything back. There is a right time for everything, a season for every activity under heaven. Escalates 3:1. The right time to make amends is after you forgive. Correct motivation. To display character of Jesus with pain or conflict. What does love look like when we've hurt somebody? To take responsibility for what happened and what I did, demonstrating repentance and removing the barriers to a restored relationship. Do not repay anyone for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everybody. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Romans 12:17 to 18. To live at peace with all men and women as far as it depends on me. Direct or indirect amends. Which one should I make? The short answer in most cases is both. A direct amends is confessing my offense and mending what I have damaged. An indirect amends is examining my well, pretty much I would say my attitudes and changing my behaviors so that I do not continue to wound or cause damage. There is never a time when only direct amends are in order. There are a few exceptions when only indirect amends are in order. exception clause. A legitimate exception. My offense consists of private withdrawal, avoidance, or bitterness. Make an indirect amends by changing your attitude towards this person. A legitimate exception to. The person I've offended is dead. Write a letter of amends and read it at their gravesites or other meaningful places. You can even write it and burn it to them and give it to them. Make an indirect amends by changing your attitudes and behaviors. The person I've offended is unreachable. I may not know their name. It may not be an entire group of people I've offended. I have no idea where they live or how to contact them. Or they may have made it clear that they never want to be contacted by me again. Make an indirect amends by changing your attitude and behavior. Make a Make a direct amends. In the case of an ex-spouse or ex-business partner, etc., prayerful consider making a direct amends via mail. Legitimate exception 4. The offense occurred in the context of criminal activity. Make an indirect amends by changing your attitude and behaviors. Make a representative direct amends. Legitimate exception. My offenses are fresh and or very extreme. The offended party has recently found out about the offense and is deeply affected, needing time to process their wound and again composure. In a situation like this, a hasty amends may do more damage than good. And deferred amends may be an order delay. It is not the same as denial. Making an indirect amends changed your attitude and behaviors. Prepare a direct amends, but delay offering it back. Seek counsel from a pastor, a director, or a credible person with experience in reconciliation as to the best way and timing for the amend to be made. A legitimate exception 6. The dumb once, not stupid twice exception. This refers to those I should never contact because doing so would reopen relational doors which need to stay closed. This applies to past illic or immoral relationships, drug and chemically addictive friends, and etc. Making an indirect amends by changing your attitudes and behaviors. If married, make a direct amends to your current spouse by telling the truth. Making amends. F. Frequently. M. Made. E. Excuses. Making amends. Okay, so caution. Every situation is slightly different and need to be discerned separately. However, certain recurring questions tend to come up in this session, and here is our attempt to answer them. In general terms, the more sensitive amends situations, please talk to your pastor or a counselor, a director or facilitator before moving ahead. Okay. Case study 1. I'm pretty sure finding out about my immoral behaviors, so such as like example, pornography or strip clubs, affairs, or like anything that's pretty much bad, will deeply hurt my spouse or fiance or one to come, and may cost me the relationship. I have confessed my sin to God and to my spouse and have amended my ways. The exception clause suggests I don't make direct amends to others when it will further injure them. Does it apply here? Okay, key conceptions or concepts to consider. Concepts to consider. Ask the offended party to decide whether they would like to know or not. It is impossible to build intimacy without truth. In the case of habitable pornography or affair or indirect amends, it is rarely enough to break the power of sexual addiction or the relationship. Most of the time, a desire to protect your spouse from being hurt is more about protecting yourself from the consequences. Severe or repeated unfaithfulness, such as abuse, marital unfaithfulness, etc., will take time and proven track record before trust is possible. Case study 2. If your marriage is fragile, I know I have contributed to our problems, but I am not the one who had the affair, so I do not feel like I am the one needing to make amends. Why should I? It just gives my husband or wife license to hurt me again. Well, concepts to consider. You are only responsible to make amends for how you have hurt your husband or wife. Sometimes the amends can or should include taking responsibility for not speaking up earlier and or speaking what you really felt. One offense does not cancel out lesser offenses. You are responsible to God for making an amends so that God can bless and protect you from this point on. Study 3. The name of my abuser showed up on my inventory. So if you did the inventory that I showed you before, this abuser showed up multiple times. Okay, so I've hated him or her for many years and frequently spoke poorly of them. I've forgiven them. I've asked God to forgive me for my bitterness, for my nauseous, when I consider even being in His presence. He raped me daily for the nearly 3 years. What do? See, the key concepts here is an abuse situation. Making amends to your abuser starts with forgiveness. Withdrawing from the relationship was likely appropriate, with the wrongdoing is the bitterness, and in this case, also the slander. It is rarely recommended that the abuse make direct amends to the abuser for bitterness, etc., and never without respectable counsel. Direct amends can be made towards other individuals in your life whom you have unfairly judged because they reminded you of your abuser. Indirect amends, changes to your attitudes and behaviors to these individuals are also important. It is also important that you consider making direct amends to your spouse if you have withheld yourself sexually from them or not given your heart to them. Case study 4. If I were to make amends, there's a good chance I would be put in jail. There are people relying on me. What do? And if you don't know what jail is, it's being handed to Satan. So, concepts to consider. What would you want the offending person to do if the situation were reversed? And as you wish that others would do to you, do to them. What would God have you do? In doubt, seek respectable counsel. So a pastor, a Christian lawyer, another counselor, etc. Anyone that is there with Jesus. Tell those in your life today who will be most affected. If and when making amends is advised, it should be made to the offended person, likely in writing. They can determine whether or not they desire the formalized charges. If they do, realize that your amends may become evidence, and you need to be prepared to accept the consequences. So basically, what you got to deal with is something like, it starts off with confession. Start off with your confession, and then you go off into your apology, and then you go into responsibility, and then you move into desire to make things right. And sometimes people won't want you to make it right, and that's perfectly acceptable. But Jesus in my eyes, I think he would want you to make things right. He said to forgive people 70 times 70, and to forgive and to repay people 4 times. If you, for example, if I were to steal $50 from you and I never repaid you $50, I would give you, say, like 200 or 150 for doing what I have done. Okay. Basically, it's responsibility. I have no excuse why I hurt you as I did. So, so pretty much, you pretty much know what you did. You had either pride, you had fear, you had justification, you had whatever it is influencing you, rather than you having any concern for anybody. Make an amends. There should be no buts. There should be no attempts to explain or defend my actions. No expectations that the other party will respond the way I want them to. Like I said, be careful not to promise more than you can deliver. That will sound superficial and will set you up for failure. Avoid "I will always" or "I will never again" statements unless you are sure you can live up to your promises. At the same time, don't let yourself off the hook too easy by offering "I'll try harder." Rather, commit yourself to doing the actions God or godly mentors have impressed upon you. Set up an accountability structure to maximize success. Most importantly, follow through with your commitment. And that's basically a strategy on making an amends. So, thank you for listening and have a wonderful evening or night. God bless you. Bye.